Recognize myself for 5 minutes. First, I want to thank our chairman for choosing our first hearing to be about the community banks, which is so important to many of our communities, especially those in Georgia. That said, I think a great deal of what we discuss here can also apply to the credit unions as well, especially in the line of questioning that I'm going to have, because they face many of the same problems at the national level in terms of regulation. First, let me start off by taking us a little back into history, back to 1970, when Congress passed the Bank Secrecy Act, which, among other things, required financial institutions to report unusually large transactions to federal law enforcement. Congress did not specify what constituted unusually large at that time. Early privacy advocates challenged the law on the grounds that it violated the Fourth Amendment protected privacy, that the Fourth Amendment protects privacy rights. When it reached the Supreme Court in 1974, the court took an unprecedented step and considered the Treasury Department's rule impeding the law in their view of the law itself. They found that the $10,000 threshold was high enough and that it wouldn't capture everyday transactions. Consequently, the law was upheld. Yet, if adjusted for inflation, which it has not been, that $10,000 back then would be around $80,000 today. So, Ms. Owen, I'd like to open up with a question for you. Would you say that your bank frequently handles transactions greater than $10,000 in a single day?
Absolutely.
Probably many times over, I can imagine.
Yes.
Approximately, if you know this, approximately how much manpower goes into processing currency transaction reports at your bank?
For our small bank, we have 4 BSA officers, not to mention the tellers that are completing these transactions and the others that are checking behind them before it goes to BSA.
So the bulk portion of the reports that I can imagine are anti-money laundering, CFT compliance. How much do you think your bank spends on compliance on those each year? If you don't know, just give me a guess or an estimation.
I wish I could give you a guess or estimation. I haven't written it down or put a pencil to it. It's kind of scary to think about it. No doubt those are positions that are working on this but are not generating dollars or income for the bank.
Okay, well, let me share a little something. What the GAO found out, Government Accounting Office. In previous hearings, I've mentioned that law enforcement only issues a tiny fraction of CTR data, uses only a tiny fraction. This time, I'd like to focus on what we can do about it. And without objection, I'd like to insert a December 2024 report from GAO on this. This 110-page report states that even a small adjustment to the filing threshold from $10,000 to $30,000 would reduce the reporting burden for banks for as much as 60%. Let me just quickly read the closing note from the report. It says, by taking steps to reduce the number of unused CTRs, such as though adjusting the reporting threshold and by eliminating rarely used fields and clarifying aggregation requirements, FinCEN could reduce unnecessary filer burden without affecting CTR's usefulness to law enforcement. That's what I think we want to do, and I actually have a bill to do that, and I think it's something we can bipartisan do. So, Ms. Owen, if you had a 60% reduction in regulatory burden, would your bank be able to pass those savings on to your customers?
Absolutely. We would love to have that opportunity.
And last question for you, and I am running out of time, but as a banker, do you believe that FinCEN provides adequate feedback or follow-up once your AML compliance staff file a CTR or SAR?
Unfortunately, no. We don't receive any feedback.
Well, that's what we're hearing from a lot of especially small institutions and large, is that, especially with suspicious activity reports, it's very generic, very broad in definition. Since you're not getting that, does that impact your assessment of customer risk?
Absolutely. Even when we've made calls to them and tried to schedule appointments to make sure that we're submitting all the information they need on a particular item, communication would be hugely important, and I think hugely important in trying to resolve what they're trying to do.
Well, thank you, and my time has expired, and just want to thank you all for working with us as we try to